Hey guys, Eddie here, and I'm behind the wheel of my 2016 Subaru WRX with the premium trim, and I want to share with you guys a little bit about my experience and things that I dislike about the car now that it's about 2,500 miles into the odometer. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, I consider myself a car enthusiast. My first car was a 2003 Nissan Maxima 6-speed. Second car was a 2005 Honda S2000, and my third car when I got back from school was a 2012 Mini Cooper S R56. It was a hardtop model, which is a car that I traded in to end up leasing this. Now, I know I've irritated the car gods by A, leasing this car, and B, not buying an older car and just keeping it for a longer period of time, but I needed something reliable, and that's a different conversation for another day. So the things that I dislike about this car, well, first I'd like to say that I love this car. I've enjoyed it so far thoroughly, and I plan on enjoying it for the 3 years that I shall have it. But a couple things that Subaru could easily work on that, you know, are just things that bug me just a little bit about the car. Get onto the slower lane. First things first, the horn on the car is not what you would expect in a car that's a performance vehicle. I'm just gonna press on it now, hopefully y'all can hear it, but it's pretty weak. You hear that? Yeah, that's not a very powerful horn that grabs one's attention for a good manner. I mean, I don't use my horn much, but the other day I was driving out of work, and one of my buddies was walking alongside the sidewalk, and I honked at him to try to startle him, but at the end of the day the joke was on me because I hadn't heard the horn before, and he proceeded and still does make fun of me for the lack of a authoritative horn, for lack of a better word. The second thing is, on the actual steering wheel of the car, there are way too many buttons. Way too many buttons. I might use 2 or 3 of these on a regular basis, primarily the cruise control like I'm using right now, and you know, cruise control is nice to have on the steering wheel. Also the volume for the audio system, but there are buttons here for menus, for other things on the actual gauge cluster that really aren't necessary and just kind of get in the way, and they kill the simplicity of the car otherwise. They could do without those. Something else that I think Subaru could do better is change the placement of the actual keyhole in the steering column. Where I am right now, and with my seating position the way it is, my knee hits on the keys, and I find that to be quite annoying. I don't want anything touching my legs while I'm driving. So that's something that I think they should put in a better place. Now you might say I have too much stuff on my keys, but the only way I could get my knees to not touch that area is if I just leave only the key for the engine and the car on the actual steering column, and separate the keys of my home, which is kind of a pain in the butt if you get in and out of your car a couple times a day. The next problem I have with the car is the location of the trunk button versus the location of the dynamic stability control button. They are way too close together. If you're anything like me and enjoy a spirited drive and frequently turn off your stability control and traction control button, like your stability and traction control systems, you might accidentally one day trip the trunk button instead. They are about 1.5 inches away from each other, and they're both right next to the steering column here on the left. Something else that seems rather cheap, I understand that this is not a luxury car by any means, but I don't think it's too much to ask, is an auto up, auto down button for the passenger side window. It exists for the driver's side window, however the passenger side window, you have to press and hold down the button until it goes all the way up and all the way down. I find that to be quite annoying. I'd rather just tap the 2 buttons and problem solved. What does it cost? It's probably what, a sensor and a wire? 30 cents? I don't know. But I'm a huge fan of symmetry, so for me it's very important to have both of these together, so I can just tap them up and tap them down, because I never drive with one window up and one window down. Now, getting to the main, I guess you would say, entertainment cluster that's in the center console here. I do not have the GPS navigation system. I do not need it. I did not want it. But the actual stock system that comes with the car has a horrendous tactile system where the inputs are not easy by any means, but they're not that sensitive. I barely use that system because of this. It has actually deterred me from using my radio. Instead, what I do is I just use the Bluetooth on my phone, and I guess the whole phone iPad type system has spoiled us into expecting better. But I understand the purpose of the unit. I understand that for 2016 you need a backup camera, and it's nice to have that, but it just doesn't work well. Something else that I find to be ridiculous, and if it were up to me I would take it out of the car altogether, is the third instrument cluster that's located at the top of this center unit here. And whenever you see a review on the car, people have it conveniently turned to the cool little boost gauge screen, which is cool to look at, but the fact of the matter is that you're not going to look at that. If you're doing any sort of spirited driving and you're looking at your boost gauge, you should have your eyes on a different part of the road rather than the actual cluster itself. Those are just my opinions. The other things that come up on the menu are like a little clock, which you also have your clock in your center console, your miles per gallon, all that. All that could be in your center console, excuse me, in your primary gauge cluster, if that's something you want to look at. Instead, I see a bunch of weight that could be removed from the car. Other than that, I have no complaints about the engine. Initially, getting into first gear was a little bit troublesome, but as the car has been breaking in, so to speak, either that or I've gotten used to it, getting into first gear has been quite nice. People complain about the clunkiness of the transmission and the length of the throws. I don't really have an issue with those things. It's part of the car, and by no means do I have the short shift system in here. It's just a standard gearbox, 6-speed manual, and it has a very similar reversing pattern than the Nissan Maxima that I used to own. So for me, the learning curve was rather low. It came to be rather intuitive. At first I used to have some trouble figuring out if it was actually in first gear or not, because it didn't feel like it clicked in well enough, but either I got used to it or the system just broke in. So those are the main issues I have with the car. I don't have any issues with the engine. In order to get it to launch, you really do have to pick up the RPMs when you drop the clutch, and that's about it. So if y'all have any questions or anything you'd like to argue with me about, or anything else that you'd like for me to answer for you, feel free to leave any comments. I plan on doing other videos with this car. Like I said, it's close to 2,500 miles into the odometer now, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. Just shoot me a message or leave a comment. Feel free to subscribe. I shall be posting more videos soon, and hope you all have a good day and have some safe driving out there, okay? Don't race on the streets. So this is Eddie saying bye.